I'm tired of going to bad weddings. Now maybe you think every wedding is this magical celebration of love and I'm just being a hater. That's definitely partially true, but the reality is the more weddings you go to, the more they all start to look the same. Your best friend can only get married so many times. At weddings like that, where you're invested in the couple and you know all the guests, of course you're going to have a great time. At that point, it's basically just an excuse to hang out with a bunch of people you already know and love. But once all of your close friends are married off, the types of weddings you end up at will feel less like special celebrations and more like obligations. Think of going to a wedding for your partner's high school friend, or your distant cousin that you were too nice to say no to. In general, as your connection to the wedding party goes down, so do your chances of having a good time at that wedding. That's because when you strip away the built-in togetherness of reuniting with a big group of people you know and love, all that's left is the rigidity of the traditional wedding formula. You end up sitting through the same choreographed sequences. The grand entrance, first dance, parent speeches, cake cutting, but without much connection to the couple or anyone else in the room. It starts to feel less like going to a party and more like being a parent at a school play. It's nothing against these couples. It's not like they're uniquely bad at throwing weddings. The problem is they're all stuck following the same broken playbook. As Priya Parker writes in The Art of Gathering, we've become muddled about when and why we gather, relying on templates instead of thinking about what we actually want events to feel like. Weddings might be the ultimate example of this template-driven approach. So after sitting through one too many mediocre weddings recently, I started wondering, what would it look like to totally reimagine this experience? To answer that, we first need to figure out how we got here. So let's talk about it. What's wrong with weddings today? How did they get like this? And what can we do to fix them?
Let's do this.
Hi, I'm NK. Welcome to my world. To understand how to fix weddings, we need to start with a basic question. What's the point of a wedding anyway? For most of history, weddings haven't been personal. In ancient Rome, marriage was a tool for cementing citizenship, earning you certain rights and privileges under the Roman state. In medieval Europe, it was about land, bloodlines, and forging alliances. It wasn't until the rise of Romanticism during the 18th and 19th centuries that the idea of choosing your partner based on love began to gain traction in the West. This ideal was cemented when Queen Victoria of Britain fell in love with Prince Albert in 1839. Victoria could have chosen anyone she wanted to marry for political advantage, but instead she chose this German prince because she genuinely fell in love with him. She wrote in her diary about how he was beautiful and fascinating, and by all accounts they had a passionate, affectionate relationship. When they got married in 1840, Victoria made some choices that seemed small at the time, but ended up changing weddings forever. She wore a white dress, not because it symbolized purity, but because it was fashionable and gave her a chance to show off all her fancy lace. She held the ceremony during the day, instead of the custom of doing it at night, which allowed all her subjects to watch the couple travel down the mall from Buckingham Palace. And instead of the typical small, private ceremony, she invited 300 guests and had the event widely publicized and photographed. This lavish, public approach to weddings became the blueprint for how we plan weddings today, and it perfectly captures what makes throwing a great wedding so difficult. The problem is, modern weddings try to do too many things at once. Thanks to Queen Victoria, they're expected to do 3 things: celebrate the love of the new couple, connect their 2 groups of families and friends, and put on a public spectacle. But these goals aren't always aligned, which makes it nearly impossible to do them all well. Just think about the type of wedding content you'll typically come across online. During the ceremony, when couples are supposed to be declaring their love for each other, many people instead use that time as an opportunity to perform. They'll rap or sing or recite a poem or tell some bad jokes, all while making sure they're being filmed from multiple angles. Instead of focusing on the partners they're dedicating their lives to, they're thinking about how their vows will land with some strangers online. Now, this isn't true of all couples. Many modern ceremonies manage to capture a brief but real celebration of the new relationship. They can be a bit cheesy or even awkward if the vows get weird, but in general, there are some heartfelt moments there. But even for those that approach the ceremony more authentically, the vibes start to shift as soon as the vows are over. Every couple plans a dip and a kiss as they walk back down the aisle. They carefully choreograph grand entrances and first dances that are designed to be filmed. As guests settle into the reception hall, our focus on public image increasingly overshadows the competing goals of celebrating love and connection. You can find thousands of templates like this online, outlining a strict schedule of performances for the evening. The grand entrance, first dance, father-daughter dance, mother-son dance, parent toast, best man toast, maid of honor toast, cake cutting, bouquet toss, send-off. For most of the night, the couple ends up being too busy performing to actually focus on each other. Meanwhile, guests are there as an audience to clap for the show, videographers to post it online, and sometimes just to act as part of the set design. This doesn't stop every toast maker from proclaiming what a special night it is, not just for bringing together the couple, but for bringing together everyone in the room that night. But chances are, the patterns you experience actually go something more like this. When a ritual like the cake cutting is in motion, all eyes are on the bride and groom. As soon as it's over, everyone recedes back to their corner to talk to or dance with the people they already know, instead of creating a web of new connections as the speeches will claim. This cycle of watching and retreating really dominates the evening. When you do try to strike up a convo with someone new in between the scheduled performances, it ends up going something like this.
So where are you going after this? You guys are making a trip out of this. Are you renting a car? Oh my god, you're taking the train? Are you going up north? Are you going down south? Oh, you are? You're gonna travel around? Good for you. You guys do Airbnb or hotel? Airbnb or hotel? So what hotel are you staying in? We're staying in the same hotel. Small world.
I'm not blaming anyone for getting stuck in these superficial conversation loops. I do it too. It's hard to have a real conversation with a stranger when you're busy looking over your shoulder to make sure you're not interrupting the next act. Because despite weddings being framed as these big communal experiences, the Victorian structure of these events doesn't actually do anything to bring people together. An open bar and a dance floor can only do so much. Yes, it'll get people next to each other, but it's not a recipe for forming connections you'll actually remember. Now you may say, MK, the wedding isn't about the guests, it's about the couple. What are you complaining about? And you're right, the wedding is not about me. Couples can choose to do whatever they want at their wedding. So in that case, I flip the question on you, future brides and grooms. What impact do you want your wedding to have? Sure, with the current formula, you'll get some nice pictures you can post online and hang up in your house. But is that enough to justify all the time and money that goes into planning a wedding? For me, probably not. Because while you may be happy with those photos, behind your back, all your guests are having conversations like this. Hey, remember that wedding? What did you think of the DJ? How was the food? Did you see how many photographers they had? How much did that cost? If the couple is only focused on the spectacle, then that's all the guests will focus on too. And to me, this is actually a huge missed opportunity, because all those speeches people give are at least half true. It is incredible to bring together two big groups of strangers to celebrate one new relationship. You have 50, 100, 200 people that cared enough about you to travel to some second-tier city like Charlotte, North Carolina, pay for a hotel room, put on fancy clothes, and send you a gift when it's all said and done. And in return, you say, "Excuse me, you're blocking the photographer." It makes me think of this quote I came across while researching this piece. Chains do not hold a marriage together. It is thread. Hundreds of tiny threads which sew people together through the years. Now obviously this partially alludes to those small everyday acts that hold people together over time, but for me it also speaks to the fact that marriage doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a network of relationships. Family, friends, neighbors, and broader communities. Your wedding guests are there to be woven into this new social fabric. This network you can touch and feel and talk to in real life. These are people that can offer support, encouragement, and wisdom as you're navigating your new life together. But the problem is, the traditional wedding script isn't designed to build those bonds between you and your guests or among the guests themselves. So this whole network of people leaves just as separate and isolated as they came. At the end of the night, every couple's position in the world remains largely unchanged. You're close with the people you were close with and distant with the people you were distant with. The main difference is having some new jewelry and pictures to take home. And I think that's a shame. Not just as a guy who's tired of being stuck at boring weddings, but as someone who will one day be planning a wedding myself. I would love to achieve what all those toasts claim. I want to capture lightning in a bottle, a night that is truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience, where people come together to create lasting memories and real connections. I'm not alone in wanting something different. There are plenty of people who think of outside-of-the-box ways to bring their guests together, and there are wedding traditions around the world that already prioritize community participation over performance. But for those of us working within the American wedding industrial complex, those experiences are exceptions to the rule. So I started wondering, what if the average wedding wasn't just a performance for the guests to watch, but an interactive and inclusive experience for everyone to participate in? This led me to create a new social experiment called Celly that's designed with these goals in mind. Let me show you how it works. Imagine this common scenario. You find yourself at a wedding where you don't know that many people. Normally you'd spend the night making small talk with whoever you're seated next to. Maybe you hit the bar to loosen up, make a minor fool of yourself on the dance floor, and call it a night. But with Celly, your phone offers up a simple challenge. Cheers someone you've never met before. Suddenly you have a reason or even permission to walk up to that interesting person you saw earlier. Maybe you thought they were cute, or maybe it's just a quirky grandma that looks like a fun time. You strike up a conversation, learn they're the bride's great aunt, and before you know it, you're swapping stories and cracking jokes about the bride. This is the whole idea behind Celly. It's a wholesome, mini social app designed to spark connections among wedding guests. Each guest gets a set of small, low-stakes challenges that they complete by uploading photo or video proof. Completing challenges earns points for you and your assigned team. You can think of it as Be Real meets a scavenger hunt. Now I know what you may be thinking. MK, you just spent this whole video complaining that weddings are too artificial and performative, and now you're introducing an app with photos and points to fix it? I get where you're coming from. Obviously this may not be the right fit for every wedding and every guest. If you're the type of person that can effortlessly strike up conversations with anyone in the room, you probably don't need this. But for generations that have grown up socializing through screens, sometimes you need a digital nudge to encourage real-world interactions. And there's research to support this. Psychologists have found that when it comes to building connections, structured activities beat random mingling every time. Plus, there's evidence that when people don't engage early in social situations, they tend to stay quiet all night. And this is exactly what happens at most weddings. Celly isn't about sucking you into your phone like traditional social media. It's about using the phone as a gateway to engaging more with the world around you. So instead of a room divided between observers and performers, you get this interconnected web of participants. But the point isn't to give you a full product pitch. The goal is just to demonstrate that we don't have to approach weddings like it's still the 1800s. We can make them about love and community and connection, while still making room for your photographer to get the perfect shot. My hope is that ideas like Celly will remind couples that weddings are more than an opportunity to perform for a captive audience, and they're more than the 200-year-old script of rituals we've gotten stuck with. What this whole project has taught me is that at the most basic level, weddings should just be about bringing people together. That's it. That's the whole point. Everything else, the flowers, the cake, the colors, the lighting, it's all just decoration. So when I think about my future wedding, I know I don't want my guests to be an audience that's just there to clap. I want them to feel like they're part of something. That's what Celly is all about. Not just documenting moments, but creating them. So whether you love this idea or you hate it, I'd love to hear why in the comments. To stay up to date on this and other experiments in the MK World universe, sign up for the Substack in the description. We're always looking for great collaborators, so if you'd like to work on projects like this together, hit me up. Finally, if you'd like to make Celly happen at your wedding, sign up for the waitlist below. Until next time, let's go and do this.